reduced economic returns from irrigation investment due to changes in future water supply conditions, in addition to forest management costs due to drought, temperature-related wildfire. Risk are some of the practical impacts of climate change in which Nigeria is also affected. This is Issues, reaching you from the Unity station NTA Channel 5 Abuja. I am Abdullah Hajia. We'll be back soon. Please stay with us. Adaptation and mitigation are keywords used in the discussion of climate change. When our guest joins us on the conversation today, we will tap from his expertise as a way of creating more awareness and sharing knowledge on this subject matter. Join us again. Thank you for joining us again. And on the conversation segment today, I am privileged to have the Executive Director, Nigerian Center for Climate Renewal, Resilience and Adaptation. He's also the founder of Climate Action and Community Outreach Initiative. I have the privilege of having Abdullahi Ali Gaida on Issues tonight.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, this is one issue that is so significant, even though the knowledge around it for some is still technical. Yes, most often we hear about the issue of climate change. What readily comes to mind is the negative aspect of changing weather condition or a phenomenon that is negative. Is it a threat or an opportunity to humanity?
So thank you for that question. So climate change, as you know, is caused mainly by shift in weather patterns and, of course, temperature. But since the 1800s, human activities in terms of burning of fossil fuel, like coal and others, has exacerbated the issues of climate change. So climate change obviously is a problem, but also climate change could also be an opportunity. I think that is where the mismatch is. People see climate change as a problem. Yes, it is a problem that we need to adjust. We need to have mitigation and adaptation plans to be able to effectively deal with the issues of climate change. However, climate change also presents an opportunity for us to be able to improve ourselves, improve our economy, and improve our way of life.
Okay, well, if you talk about the opportunity, I'll be interested more on that aspect so that I'll be able to tap more, and probably our viewers too will benefit from. Now, let's look at the issue of collaboration. Now, this is one issue that is just hitting the world. And like we say, no man is an island. The global community has, often come together to be able to mitigate, to be able to discuss on way forward, probably getting the prospects of it. How would you access the coming together of the world in terms of bringing solutions on climate change?
So, as you know, climate change, Sub-Saharan Africa is not responsible for the major effects of climate change. We're only responsible for about 4% of the issues that causes climate change. But we are adversely affected by the issues of climate change. So it's important that we get ourselves involved in discussion with the outside world to see how we can have solutions in terms of mitigation and adaptation. However, there is a problem. The problem is, because we are not responsible for the major effects of climate change, we should not also be responsible for providing the financing and the funding to deal with the issue of climate change. The global north, in other words, the developed countries, are supposed to be responsible in providing these finances. And I think that's where meetings like the COP28 and of course the upcoming COP29 are very, very important. Luckily, I was in COP28 last year, and there was a lot of discussion in terms of providing financing for adaptation and mitigation activities. However, the problem is that the process of assessing this finance is truly, truly a problem. For example, in Africa, especially in particular in Nigeria, in most cases, most of our government agencies and, of course, non-governmental organizations lack the capacity to put appropriate proposals to be able to access this funding. And this is just an issue. And again, if you recall, I'm sure you know about this, that there was a pledge of $100 billion a year to be, provided for developing countries to be able to address these issues of climate change. However, just recently, Osmo came up with a report that 70% of the funding of that $100 billion were actually given to developing countries as loans. So tell me, how do we assess funding that will be that is as loans that will definitely help us in mitigating and preparing ourselves for adaptation on climate change related activities? I mean, that's just not possible, and that's not the way to go. I think the best way to go is for us to actually look at the possibility of having this funding provided to us as grants or as concessional loan, so that we'll be able to access these funds easily and and utilize it effectively to address our issues. Let me give you an example. Recently, in our organization, we were trying to see how we can uh, assist very key government policy when it comes to provision of clean cook stoves. I'm sure you are aware that clean cook stove has been provided to most communities in Nigeria. One of the things we noticed in that process was that yes, government has been able to procure these clean cook stoves. They've been able to distribute these clean cook stoves. But one key link that is missing in that process is that the fuel that is needed for communities in the rural areas to be able to use this clean cook stove effectively is missing. Now, briquette, as you know, is gotten from agricultural waste products. That is how you manufacture briquette, which is used in fueling as fuel for the clean cook stoves. Now, how do you provide clean cook stove to, for example, communities in Borno State? Then then you provide them with briquettes that will last probably for 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, they do not have access to these briquettes, within their own surrounding communities. So what do you want them to do? They go back to cutting down of trees to be able to use as fuel. So the whole process, in our view, has an issue. And one of the things we decided to do was to see how we can, commission a research whereby we look into available raw materials within designated communities in Nigeria that are readily available that you can use as fuel for cooking using the clean cook stoves. I think that's a very, very important thing that government needs to look into. Another thing, again, that we're also looking at is how do we advise government and provide a level playing field for solar panel manufacturing and solar panel distribution? How do we encourage government, to carry out to put in policies that could truly ensure that solar panel production is easily made available within the country? I think that's another area.
Okay, well, if I may interject, we'll still come back to the economic benefit, which I think you've started,
Yes.
hitting.
Yes.
I'm still interested in the COP28 and probably COP29 that will be coming. We were there in COP28.
Yes.
What actually is being brought to the table? What are the discussions that are being brought to the table?
So in COP28, one of the key takeaways for us was that there was discussion on ensuring that loss and damage fund is passed. I think that was one of the key takeaways, that the loss and damage fund was established. But however, as you know, the funds that were made available for the loss and damage fund was about $700 million. But the fact that the loss and damage fund was established, I think, was a great takeaway for COP28. The other thing that was also very important was that there was a global stock take on national determined contributions of various countries. And Nigeria was able to present, her NDC plans, and there was a global stock takes on those issues. And a lot of discussions were done around that, because again, now, come 2025, there's going to be, a new funding call from the $100 billion that was provided, that was initially planned, and there's going to be an upscale of that funding. So I think that was a major takeaway. But for me personally, and what I think we should all focus on is, when we go to COP, what is it that we truly want to achieve as a nation? I think that's, for me, is the key thing. Most of the times, when Nigerian delegations go to COP, there are a lot of uproar in the country that there's a lot of people going to COP, and what benefits is COP to the country. To be honest with you, there are a lot of benefits. I was opportune to participate in various activities. I attended pavilions of so many countries. I could see how countries have taken advantage of the opportunities that are available in terms of financing, in terms of technology, in terms of business ideas and business opportunity within the climate change space, in terms of new ideas and new innovations. These were things that were really, really, common at COP28. And it just beats my imagination that I haven't attended COP. If you ask me personally, I've not actually seen, the benefit transmits to us as a country in terms of actually educating people on the outcome of COP28. I think that's where, in my opinion, there is, a gap. I think coming to COP29, I think the country, and of course, I believe definitely the Federal Ministry of Environment and the National Council on Climate Change, and of course, the Climate Change Department under the Federal Ministry of Environment, and of course, the Presidential Committee on Climate Change should be able to find a way to bring up people. I mean, to be able to find a way to educate people. I'm talking about our negotiators. I'm talking about our lawmakers that will be attending these conferences. I'm talking about our business men and women that will be attending this conference, government institutions, ministries, departments, and agencies of government that will be attending this COP. So find a way to educate them, enlighten them, make them understand that it is not all about attending COP. It's all about bringing back the benefit of COP28 to our people. And that can be done if there is a proper planning and a proper direction on exactly what we intend to achieve COP29.
Okay, well, I know you operate at a very high level, and that's why you're able to be part of that, COP28. What would you say are some of the practical, benefits that some countries have, taken or gotten going by some of the pavilions you were able to, visit? If there are practical examples that we can also replicate here.
One of the best practical examples that I witnessed was I wish people, a lot of people, government agencies and ministries, people in government are listening to this interview that we're having today, is what the Chinese have been able to do with climate change. In Africa, we see climate change as a problem. Yes, I do agree. Climate change is an issue. It is responsible for the flood we are experiencing now, drought in sub-Saharan Africa. It is responsible for a lot of bad things. I agree. However, there are also opportunities that exist within the climate change space. The Chinese have been able to turn climate change into a massive business. The largest solar production country today in the world is China. And that country has been able to bring out a lot of young tech millionaires and billionaires just by turning climate change into an opportunity. One key example, on which I hope people in government will listen to, is to find a way to establish what we call a climate change fund for the country. And this fund should be channeled into providing assistance to universities and research institutions to carry out research specifically targeting areas to do with climate change. Another thing that I noticed is that while we in sub-Saharan Africa are always looking at getting funding from international development partners, the Chinese have been able to see how they can, tap into available financing within their own financial institution and target those critical finance to climate change related activities. And they've been able to get themselves involved in research. Today, China is the largest producers of electric vehicles. As you know, electric vehicles comes with a lot of components, the charging point, the batteries, so on and so forth. So many things are involved in the production of electric vehicles. China is the largest producer of solar panels. As you know, apart from the production of solar panels, there are a lot of activities to do with solar panel installations, solar panel marketing and retailing. So many things you can do within that space. The Chinese have proven that yes, indeed, climate change is a problem, but there is a massive opportunity when it comes to climate change. I think Nigeria, as a country, has got a lot to learn from the Chinese.
We got a lot to learn, considering our population and considering, our weather and climatic conditions. I think there are so many opportunities if actually we look inwards and think out of the box to be able to get some of these solutions. Before we go on a break, agriculture is part of our life, and it is also partly affected by this climate change issue we're talking about. How do you think we should be able to also, you know, adapt now and come up with new ways now of farming so that we don't cry of climate change consuming all of us without food?
Yeah, as you know, we have Nigeria has a very good arable land. 60% of our land are tapped. We still have not been able to utilize our arable land effectively. But on this, I must commend the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture has been able to educate people, try to showcase the need for urban farming, so that people should, be able to plant their own crops on their own. Recently, I'm sure you know everybody is now planting their yams, their potatoes, and their onions and everything in sacks at their homes. So I think one of the things, again, I think Nigeria should do is to really see how they can propagate urban farming in the country, so as to address the issue of food insecurity. Definitely, we know hopefully this year we're going to have a bumper harvest, but I think there's a need for us to embrace climate smart agriculture and, of course, precision farming.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi Ali Gaidam. And you've been firing from all cylinders and making sense on the topic, talking about economic benefits of climate change. We'll be right back, but this is after we go on a break. You're still watching Issues, reaching you from the Unity Station, Nta Channel 5 Abuja. My guest is still here, but we'll go on a short break. When we return, the questions and answers continue. Glad to know you're still there and you're still on to Issues from the Unity Station, Nta Channel 5 Abuja. My guest is still in the studio. Now, before we went on break, we're talking about how we'll be able to salvage our agriculture for food security. That's fantastic. Now, let's look at the issue of infrastructure too. Is also affected. Flooding. Today, we just witnessed the Maiduguri incident just recently. So how can we also mitigate climate change and our infrastructure?
So, what happened in Maiduguri is quite a sad thing. I had some prayers out with people of my state because I schooled in Maiduguri, and of course my friends are from there. It's quite sad. However, the fact of the issue is what happened in Maiduguri was truly, in my opinion, as a result of climate change. The rainfall pattern has changed. So definitely the dam, I think, was built about 30 to 40 years ago. So the integrity of the dam obviously was, in my opinion, was in question. And hopefully the design of that dam at that time didn't factor in climate-related resilient infrastructure scenarios when the dam was constructed. So I think what the government needs to do is actually, I must commend the president actually in his speech when he talked about ensuring that every dam in the country goes through an integrity test. And my belief and hope is that after that test is done, definitely climate proofing, infrastructure technology, climate proofing technology should be part of the process in ensuring that when we build our dams, we factor in climate-related activities. We look at the topography of those areas. We look at the surrounding. We look at we carry out a lot of tests. We should be able to conserve some of these waters for irrigation purposes, for dry season farming. We should be also be able to look at how do we plant crops when this flood recedes. How do we plant crops to actually provide medium to long-term solutions in terms of food security to our people that are localized within those regions. In my opinion, this is one of the things that I think we should also be looking at.
That's very good, and I believe that will require careful planning to be able to achieve that.
Absolutely.
Okay, sir. Well, narrowing it down to our own very environment, talking about the FCT now. Every day we see developments, types of road construction, bridges, high-rising structures. Is there any lessons for us as far as climate change is concerned in the FCT?
To answer your question directly, definitely in my mind, I'm of the view that most of these construction companies and of course the agencies responsible for providing approval for the construction of these bridges and other infrastructure definitely do factor in climate change in their planning. There's no doubt about that. However, the problem with the FCT is that we do see high rises, beautiful homes, and everything, and which is good. It's good for our city to look beautiful. But what happens to the people that are living outside the city limits? This is the most. This to me is a very very important factor, and that's the reason why I said I will take your questions in bits. The Development Control Agency is there. They have a plan. All they need to do is to enforce that plan. For example, if you're going to build a house, you must have some trees located within your house. And of course, as you know, trees absorb carbon. So definitely I believe there are plans, by these various agencies of government to actually put in some element of climate change in terms of climate proofing the infrastructure that have been provided within the FCT. So far, so good. Things are moving well. There have been no issues. The FCT government should take advantage of our position as the federal capital territory of the country. And why do I say this? All government institutions, ministries, and agencies are headquartered in the FCT. Regional Development Bank and regional international organizations are headquartered in the FCTs. Out of the 178 embassies or so, or 148 embassies we have, most of them are domiciled here in FCT. I have not seen, in my opinion, I may be wrong, a clear leadership in terms of ensuring that the FCT administration take advantage of this opportunity that is present right in your doorstep in ensuring that, number one, what they need to do first is, of course, to domesticate the national climate change policy in Abuja. In other words, the FCT administration should have our own national climate change, our Abuja Climate Change Council, to be able to tap into the opportunities that council present in terms of the policies and direction that they and plans and they put in place to ensure that climate change is an issue of the past. However, the point I'm trying to make clearly is the World Bank is here, the African Development Bank is here, the Islamic Development Bank is here. We have many international organizations that are present in FCT. We have not been able, in my opinion, to take advantage of the opportunities that this organization presents to really help the indigents of the FCT in mitigating the adverse effects of climate change. And what am I talking about here? I'm talking about capacity building and training. What is the FCT administration doing in tapping into the knowledge that these organizations provides? What are they doing? So I think there seems to be a gap. There seems to be a missing link in terms of the leadership plan in assessing opportunities and taking advantage of FCT as the federal capital territory by the administration by those in the administration that are responsible for climate change related activities. Which people in the FCT should not, people in the hinterlands of the FCT should not be affected adversely by the effects of climate change. If these organs of government are effective in actually seeking opportunities from these various organizations I've just mentioned. So I think that's one area I think we need to clearly define. Taking advantage of the position as the federal capital territory of the nation, as the seat of power of the nation, the president, everybody's here. So how come we're not seeing activities from those in leadership position within the administration in taking advantage of these various international, regional, and local organizations that are available within the FCT? Of course, even the federal ministries, agencies, and department of government. So I think there's a need for something to be done in that aspect. I just wanted to make that point very, very clear.
What are the other issues that technically, if I may put it that way, that you think we need to tap as far as this discussion is concerned?
COP29 is coming up. I think the National Television Authority needs to take a leadership position in championing, climate change related activities. I was at COP. I didn't see NTA, out there trying to get involved in most of the activities that took place at COP28.
But we were there.
Well, you were there, but I didn't see you. I didn't see you. I think I only saw you when the president came. I think you were able to videotape some of the activities of the presidency. But the point I'm trying to make, sir, is that there are a lot of benefits at COP from various pavilions of countries. If the Nigerian Television Authority can find a way to send a team to COP29 to video most of these pavilion activities and find a way in collaboration with the National Council on Climate Change, Federal Ministry of Environment, and other relevant government ministries and agencies of government to bring back this knowledge and disseminate and transmit those knowledge through your platform. NTA is the largest television network in Africa, they say. I believe so, because you have NTAs in every state. You should be able to bring those, activities that took place in those pavilions back to the country and showcase those activities in different languages so that even the common people can understand it. I think this is one of the things I would very much like to emphasize. And I also want to say that if you were there, then you need to make your presence well felt. So I suggest that come to COP29, you should be able to find a way to gather enough resources to deal with, to be, seriously present at COP29.
Okay, I think at COP29 we will look for you so that you actually know that we were there. I must thank you very sincerely, Abdullahi Ali Gaita, the Executive Director, Nigerian Center for Climate Renewal, Resilience and Adaptation. You're also the founder of Climate Action and Community Outreach Initiative. Thank you for coming to talk to us on the issue.
Thank you very much.
We hope to tap from your knowledge and if there is future.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Well, my guest has educated us and as well as enlightened us on the issue of climate change, and the issues are inexhaustive. But as far as this episode is concerned, we'll leave you in some of his words where he talked about the economic benefits of climate change rather than seeing it as a threat. Let's do it again, same time, same station next week, where we come with another topical issues on the program. I am Abdullah Hajia. Good evening.